Why would I be doing that? Well, one reason mainly. Optimization and a workaround for a bug with the MP3 player. Yeah, a bug. So, for doing that part of it, I select a small part like that. Okay. And I go with equalization. And of course, the annoying thing about this is that you can't save anything at all here. You can't. So I always have to keep redoing it. So I keep things very simple. And of course, this particular song happens to crop out about the 2500 mark. At true speed, anyway. Of course, with different speeds, like 80% true speed, it'll be 2000 instead. And in my case, logarithmic scale, a little bit past the halfway mark. Basic curve. Yeah, I know, black text, dark gray background. It's a bug with Audacity. One I've known ever since I've seen it. Everyone thinks the background should be white, but as styles go in Windows, they can be configured. You may not really hear much of a difference. I'll repeat the equalization to amplify it even further. Okay, so I'll Z it twice. You can hear a very slight difference, mainly in the upper frequencies. That is actually expected. Well, now that I know the range from 2500 onward, I pretty much chop off. But in this case, I might as well make it about a little extra, since that's what I usually do. Go to 3000 as my basis. I'll explain the reasoning and things about that just a little later on. But the next stage is looping it. Video game music tends to be, well, loopable, infinitely, going on until you hit the stop button. In my case, that stop button may never be hit for days, even weeks on end. Seriously, 52 and a quarter days in a row. Try that once. That's my current record. 1/7 of a year. That is a big streak. But for my MP3 player, to sort of prevent the gap, since I don't have gapless playback format on my MP3 player, I repeat it a few times to minimize it to a point where it's not really all that noticeable. Which in my case happens to be around the 8 minutes mark, at true speed only. 8 minutes. Whoops. Hit 2 keys at once, I hate that. Doing 5, which actually means 6 repeats, that's too much. 6 loops, that is, anyway. Oops. 4 would get me within the range. Practically exactly on. What I do is I get as close as possible. If there's an intro, which is basically a part that does not repeat, then of course this value would actually be a little less. But the total length must be 8 minutes. This is the part where it loops over. Okay. The next stage is, well, saving. Export. Wrong folder. Wrong folder. Songs for MP3, and they go to source files, and Winter Zone Remix version 1. Winter Zone Remix is because it's I called the music from Ice Cap Zone Winter Zone, and that's at least how I named it anyway. Remix, because it's my remix that I made. Version 1, because it's the original from Act 1 of Ice Cap Zone. 16K. Now, remember the 36 and the 30K bug type thing that I mentioned earlier? Well, the reasoning for that is because at 16,000 Hz sample rate, the MP3 player plays it back at true speed. But, for optimization reasons, if I put it at 12,000, which in this case, in my MP3 player, due to a bug, a strange one, it plays back at approximately 2/3 the true speed. So, to counter that, I need to make some adjustments. I'll get to those adjustments right after this. But for now, 16K for the 16,000 Hz sample rate. Bass, well, that comes from my animation creation stuff I do. Bass from the bass plan means an original, at the very basis. And of course, .wave, because, well, it's a wave file. Obvious, isn't it? Save that and let her run. Whoops, I noticed a mistake here. Project rate must equal that of the track, as you can see. So, I redo it. Source files, finding it. Delete that, I do not need it. And of course, otherwise the same conditions. Except now I should save a whole lot faster. Because all that'll do is just end up upsampling and then just waste disk space. Especially for the sample and original one. But, to counter the bug, if it plays it back at 2/3 speed, to get true speed, I need to play it back, speed it up to 3/2. Note that 2/3 raised to the -1 power, you get 3/2. For that, we use change speed. Why not edit the sample rate? Well, this is obviously a lot easier to use. Plus, it's also slightly more accurate. Slightly. That's the operative word there. 50% change means 150% true speed, which is 3/2. Yeah, I know, it's a lot of math. And of course, I wait for this dialogue to go through. Bug. That number starts off going all over the place, but it speeds up. Normally it's expected to be constant with a little variation here and there. Seems a little weird. Class 1 bug. Hardly anything. Yep, faster. As expected. Then, of course, I save it again, but I usually go to that and then click this. 12K, because this is for the 12,000 Hz speed. And of course I'll let that go too. Yeah, another one of those dialogues, of course. Next thing, since I now no longer need Audacity, I can close that.